So, with a lot of people in my audience starting to get really into Pokemon cards and Pokemon collecting, you go to the store, you buy a bunch of packs, you rip them open, you pull a rare. You get excited. You feel that tingly sensation of actually getting something that you wanted for a while. Then what? What comes next? Well, you probably want to get the card graded. If it's going to have a lot of value or even sentimental value to you, you want to get them graded. So I have 3 cards here that I want to ship off to get graded. We have the Mewtwo Gold Star from Holland Phantoms. It's actually in outstanding condition. The Mew X that I pulled yesterday, the special art rare from the Japanese 151 set. And then a Lugia V-Star. Now, this is not a particularly super valuable card, but this was my son's first Pokemon pack that he ever opened, and he pulled this card. So I want to get this graded so that I can give it to him for him to hold and collect so that he can remember his first rare that he ever pulled in his first pack. So in this video, I'm going to be walking through the process of creating a submission for PSA and how I go about boxing this up for shipping it out. Let's go. So here we go. We begin our journey to create a submission for PSA by going to psacard.com. This is where we go to get, I think this is, what is it? Professional Sports Authenticator or Premium Sports. I can't remember what PSA stands for, but that's what you go and get this started. Now, you're going to have to create an account the first time that you come into this. It's free to sign up if you've ever created an account online before. You basically type in a username, a password, an email address, then you go confirm your email. It's not unlike anything you've ever done. So not terribly surprising what it's like to actually join now and, set up a free account with PSA.com. Once you've got that account stood up and you're signed in, you're going to click the submit button right here in the top right corner. And it shows you kind of this overview of the submission process right here, especially with the turnaround times. I think this is probably one of the biggest things that you want to focus in on because this is what dictates your price. With something like value or value bulk, you're only looking at like $20 a card. When you jump up to regular to get that 10-day turnaround, you're then looking at $75 a card per grade. And then it goes up from there. It can get pretty expensive. So know that when you're going into this, that effectively your turnaround time is also going to dictate your price. Now, there's also insured values that go into that. If you know your card is worth like $5,000 or something like that, then you're going to opt for something higher in price anyways so that you can increase your insured value. Okay, so from here, we're going to click Start Building a Submission. Now, here's my already existing submission. I can see where I've shipped off cards to go get sent. When you first come into this, you're not going to see a recent submission here. You're just going to click Start New Submission to fire this thing off. Now, we're looking at trading cards. That's what we're talking about. We're not looking at packs or Funko Pops or tickets or coins or anything like that. It's just standard trading cards. So with that selected with trading cards, we'll click Next. We then go into submission type. So what are we looking for here? Are we looking for a new grading? That's what we're looking at here. Are we looking at a review, a crossover, or just a reholder of our card? Since these cards are fresh and new, we're going to do a new grading. Now, these cards are also not autographed, so I'm going to choose no autograph authentication, but it's pretty common to see, like rookie cards, like a Joe Burrow card or something like that. Not only the card gets graded, but also the autograph gets graded, and that's why you see these autos over here if you're looking at this. So unless you've got, the card that was assigned by the illustrator, you're just going to choose no autograph authentication. We'll go into the next section right here. And this is where we get our pricing. We see the max declared value per item as well as the cost per card. Obviously, you see, this is also going to dictate our turnaround times. We remember that, but the turnaround times aren't listed here. So you may want to have 2 screens set up so that you can dictate how much you want to pay to get this done. Now, in my case, I like the 10-day turnaround time. I'm going to choose the $75 one. I've heard a lot of people say things like, oh, I'm just doing the $25 one because I'm not planning on selling these cards anytime soon anyways. So if they're gone for 2 months, I don't really care. I just want them back, in a reasonable time frame. And you also want to think about like $75, that might not, if you get this graded and it doesn't come back great, you might have spent more in the grading than your value appreciation was worth. So I'm going to choose regular right here, and this is where it starts to get fun with the item entries. I say fun kind of sarcastically because sometimes it can be hard to find these cards. There's a huge database, and what you're effectively doing in this description is searching for these. I'm going to search for Mewtwo, and I'm going to try and search for something like Haul-On Phantoms, I think is what it was. And we'll see. Aha. Okay. Haul-On Phantoms did come up 2006, and my card number is card number... Hang on, I can't really see in this lighting. Yeah, the card for Mewtwo here that I'm looking at is card number 103, so that's not going to get the job done. What I may actually have to do to help me figure this out is jump over to eBay and look at an already graded card. So from eBay, I'll search for Mewtwo Gold Star, and then just find one that says like PSA 10 or PSA 9 or something like that. And we see this is kind of going to help me figure out what the call code is. This was a gift box meal. Oh, wait, that's Japanese. That's not the one I need. I'm looking for English here. Okay, let's go for this. Yeah, so it is Haul-On Phantoms. Mewtwo Hollow, Haul-On Phantoms, 2006 Pokemon Gold Star. So let's start with this. We're going to search for 2006 Pokemon Gold Star and see if it comes up in the list here. Okay, now I think I'm making progress because I'm seeing things like 2006 Pokemon Japanese. So I think we're getting closer, but we're not quite where we want to be yet. What I'm going to search for now is Mewtwo Gold Star and see if that comes up with anything. And see, it's really tempting to pick this first one right here where it says Phantoms 24 Mewtwo. But when I actually jump back to the listings here, you see in the top, let's see here. Yeah, the English one, the top right corner, it is number 103. See in the top right corner? So I've got to find one that says 103. So what I might search for now is 103 to see if I can find one that's specific like that. Ah, there it is right there. 2006 Pokemon EX Haul-On Phantoms 103 Mewtwo Hollow Gold Star. That's it. I'm going to set the declared value to save or 750 and then click save, and in just a second it then gets added to the order below here. Okay, there it is now down here in my submission box. So next thing we need to do is Lugia V-Star. Similar deal here. I'm going to go back to eBay and see if I can find a graded version of the Lugia V-Star to see if it can help me. There it is, right there. So that's going to help me track down what the item entry in PSA looks like. This is Pokemon Sword and Shield, Silver Tempest Secret, number 211. So that's what I'm looking for here. I'm going to search for Lugia V-Star Secret 211 and see if that comes up with any results. There it is, right there. Sword and Shield, Silver Tempest, 211 full art, Lugia V-Star Secret. We'll put a declared value of this on $100 and click save. Last one is probably going to be the hardest, where we're going to try and find Mew EX. I'll search for Japanese and then maybe SV2A, which is the call card. Ah, look at that. Got pretty lucky right there. The Japanese Mew EX is actually number 205 in the series, the special art rare right there. I'm going to put this at a declared value of $300 and click save. So at this point, I have my 3 cards identified that I will be submitting. They're going to go in the order. This is important. They have to go in the order, in the box. They have to be placed in the box in the order that they're listed in here. So I'm going to click next, and it'll go on to shipping and billing, which I'm probably going to skip so I can stay nice and private. Okay, so first thing, you can let PSA hold these, and they store it in the vault. This is useful if you ever want to sell it and just let PSA handle this for you. It's also under ARM security. You get free high-res images and stuff like that. Or you can say ship it back to me, which is my preference, and I'll keep it in my vault. So when you click this, it shows you, first of all, here's what your order total is going to look like. And then here's where you enter the billing information, and below that is the shipping information. So So I'm going to enter this, click next, and then come back to it on the next screen. Okay, the next screen is the confirmation. At the top of it, you'll actually see the shipping information and billing information. I've kind of scrolled down to hide that info. I'm going to choose I have read the terms of agreements right here. We see that here's the order details one more time. And notice right here, your credit card will not be charged until the order is received and processed by PSA. Basically, they're not going to charge your card until they're done grading. So when you click next, this is firing off the order. Now, you do have the ability to edit the order later. That generates a new order number, which is important. And then you can start the process over again if that's what you need to do. But when you click next, it's going to submit this into their system. It's going to generate an order number for you, and they'll be there, sitting there waiting for the next 30 days for that order to arrive. So when you click next, know that that's kind of like clicking the submit button. Otherwise, you can navigate away from this screen at any time and come back to it and complete your order later if that's what you want to do. So I'm going to click next. There it goes. And now we have some important stuff to do. First thing it says is ship cards safely and securely in protective pouches. They recommend semi-rigid plastic pouches like the Card Saver ones. That is what I am shipping my cards in. They're all in Card Saver ones. It says don't place labels, stickers, or writing on the outside of the card savers. And important, bold letters here, put the collectibles in the order they appear on the submission form. Failing to do so will result in a 5% service charge and longer processing times. Okay, that's a thing. Now we move on to the packaging. We also have to print some pages here too. So when you're here on this page, make sure you print all pages that's listed right here under step 4, which are your submission forms. 2 copies of the forms go inside the box with your cards, and that's for PSA to use. Secondly, you'll see a submission label right here. This has to be printed and taped to the outside of your submission box. So I'm going to print all of my stuff right now. There goes my submission label. The submission details, the submission items right here that go inside the box, fire off that print. Then, of course, the final step under 6 is to ship it, and they tell you can ship it either USPS or FedEx to these addresses. So, with that being said, you've submitted it now. Now it's time to box it all up. Okay, so here's my 3 cards now. They're in the order of my label. What do I have to do now? Well, what I want to do to protect the cards is I want to sandwich these in between some cardboard. So I've got an old cardboard box right here, just a basic cardboard box, nothing special about it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some scissors to cut off these little flaps right here, like these flaps. So I'm just going to cut this like so, about the length of, the length of a card. So cutting, 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 cutting. And now I've got one. I'll do the other side. Same drill. We're just gonna kind of working around this camera is a little bit trickier than I expected it to be. We're gonna cut this box like so, and cut this, just to make it a nice square, like so. Okay, so now I can toss that box to the side, and I can now take my cards and kind of secure them like so, like this. Now, ideally, I would have had a little bit more cardboard to cover the whole thing, but this is going to help stop it from bending during the shipment process. So, at this point, what I need to do is I need a rubber band, like this one, right here, to kind of wrap around this and just hold it all in place. It doesn't have to be like super tight or anything. This is a pretty big rubber band, just like that. And now it's kind of, being held in place. We're not putting too much pressure. This is a nice big rubber band, so I'm not putting too much pressure on the cards. It's really about having the cardboard to hold them in place from being bent, like so. So this is good. Now what I need to do is I need to start packaging it, like so. So here's another box that I'm going to use, like this. I'm going to take all the labels off of it later. And we've got stuffing. Lots and lots of stuffing to put in here. So we're going to secure the cards by taking them and stuffing them in the box, like so, and then placing more stuffing in the card, in the box, to make sure it is nice and sealed. Now, remember, you don't want to seal this box up until you put your submission forms in there as well, which is why I just printed those out. And now I have my submission forms, copies 1 and 2, that I can send in. So here's submission forms. We see them, like so. I'm going to fold them up nicely. Both submission forms, copies 1 and 2, go to PSA. There is one copy in there that's for the customer, but basically as long as you can get to the internet, you can get to your submission. So I don't, I'm not feel too urgent about that. And I'm going to put these submission forms directly on top and seal the box up, like so. So submission forms directly on top, sealing the box up, and then we tape it closed. So with my box tape here, my cards are secured, and we are just tightening this up. Nice and secured, like so. The submission forms are in there. The only thing I have left to do is to affix the submission label to the outside of the package. So, taking my scissors one more time. I know it says, like, cut around the dotted line. I tend to actually cut a little bit over that, so you actually see the thing that says this package includes submission number whatever. And then I'm just going to tape this to the outside right there like this. So I'm going to grab my box tape one more time. I'm going to flip this on its side. Uh-oh. Then I'm going to adhere this to the top of the box like so. See? There we go. So at this point, my submission is now ready to be shipped off to PSA via FedEx. So that's it. Just take this now down to your local FedEx store, have the address that you need to know for FedEx deliveries, because it is different from USPS, and ship it off for grading. That's how you handle a PSA submission for your Pokemon cards. All right, we'll see you in the next one.